let's say someone has to take their vacation right this first week in November because they have to pick it way in advance for whatever reason. So if they're kind of stuck with the weather, and you said the moon is kind of your second factor that you'll look into. So if someone has to pick way in advance and they have no way of predicting the weather, would you recommend them kind of looking at the moon and then kind of basing perhaps the time they're off on that?
Especially if it's just say when's usually the peak of rut in your area? We'll give you a sample. When would you say what day of the November would you rather hunt Ohio?
Peak of the rut or
peak of the rut. Yeah, peak of the rut. Peak of the rut.
Peak of the rut, peak breeding, November. What do you think, Josh? 13 to 15?
I would say 7 through 14.
Yeah, I like 7 to 14 that
Okay.
week.
All right. Say I'll look at the moon, see when we're gonna have a full moon that month. Just say if it's fitting to fall, you say in the 7th to the 14th. Just say the full moon is gonna be like the 5th or 6th. I would really like to hunt that 7th to the 14th. But say if that full moon is fitting to fall the 14th, I would rather hunt later. I like hunting the rut. I like hunting around that full moon. It just seemed like you got, I look at all these moon charts and you'll see best and, it'd be 4 stars. And then sometimes it'd be 1 star. But I look at that, when you got a full moon, you got a move time, or you got a minor time in the morning, you got a major time in the middle of the day, and you got a minor time in the evening. So you got 3 movements.
Oh, wow.
So you got 3 move times that right around that full moon. You got it on a new moon too, but that don't seem like we see as much activity that new moon. I don't know why, but a full moon, if it falls close to your general rut date, I want to go with it, because I've killed a lot of big deer in the middle of the day, and you don't hardly ever do that except when that moon's full.
That's so it's funny you talk about that, because Chris and I have talked about this over the past couple of years as far as the full moon around the rut. And for anyone, some of what we're saying here is also kind of aligning with what Zach Kaiser and Dakota were talking about. For anyone that's wondering, that is episode 208, Killing Mature Bucks Using the Moon. That's a really good episode. So in that one, Zach Kaiser talks about hunting around the new moon and him killing his more mature deer around the new moon. But he said he feels like Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is how he put it. He feels that data is more accurate early season. And then as he gets
early season and overfood.
Yeah.
Which is a completely different tactic. I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, that's from food to bed. Yeah, he's hunting from food to bed. But he killed him in the middle of the day on that new moon?
No. He's killing them in the evening from bed to food, but it's just an early season on feed tactic. It's not like you're hunting the rut. And
okay, well, I would look at, just say if I had my dates that I took off 6 months in advance and it falls a week before the full moon, you can look at when is that major time finna fall, when the moon's straight up or straight down. When is it finna fall, in the morning or the evening? Because I really pay a lot of attention, and it ain't minor time too, because you're gonna get 2 of them every day. You're gonna get a major and a minor every day, no matter what day of the year it is. But during a full moon, new moon, you've got 3 a lot of times. So I pay a lot. I'm not telling you, I spent too much in the woods. I've like in the last 4 years, I've got to basically hunt 4 moon cycles. I've got to hunt 4 months every day, and you really start paying a lot of attention to when deer are going to be moving. It's not 100% exact, but it's way more than 50%. And especially when you put the weather with it, and the rut with it, that's why I say that's my 3 factors. When you get all 3 of them, say you got the November the 7th. You said that was a good day. You got November 7th. You got a full moon that's going to be straight up from 12 to 2. So the morning is going to be good because you're on a minor, and that moon is going to be minor in the evening. So you got 3 times. So I'm going to set that tree all day that day. But you're going to probably see a lot more activity in that middle of the day. I was in Wyoming September on a full moon. I was in a place, I slipped into a place and bulls were bugling. Moon was it was probably about 3 o'clock in the sky when it was daylight that morning. Well, I got up in there, bulls were bugling a little bit. But about the time that moon was setting on a minor time, man, they got screaming in there. There was like 5 of them in a drainage. Well, nobody messing with them. And I was in their mule deer hunt, so I just sat back and listened to them. But the moon was straight on their feet between 1 and 2 o'clock. Them suckers cranked back up at 1 or 2 o'clock during the day. I was like, you can't sit here and say the moon don't affect them neither. Because I sat there with them all day and set up on that mountain and just to curious to see what they done. And they did. And
Wow.
that was a peak of the rut for elk. So they was rutting in.
This this has me nerding out in my head right now, because what you're saying, Jeremy, is lining up with so many things that we've heard from multiple people. So going back to Kaiser real quick, he was using the new moon early season, but he says he doesn't feel like it's that data is or that moon phase is really applicable during the rut. And he had mentioned more so the full moon during that time may have an effect. And then Dakota Cantrell had also talked about the major and minors. That's his big thing. He pays a lot of attention to those. And we've talked to Shane Parker, and I think Shane might have mentioned it in his, I believe he did. If you want to listen to the one we talked with Shane, that is, what episode is that, Rick?
I want to say it's like episode 198, maybe. Let me check for you.
Man, this is like, you got me jacked out of my mind for this weekend.
Episode 194.
194.
He had talked, so it's mastering buck travel patterns using trail cams. So he talked about in his trail camera data, the new moon and the full moon. What you were talking about, Jeremy, you get 2 minors and a major, you get those 3 different times during the day. He was talking about around new moon and full moon. He really likes those times because he sees, the deer activity increase. And I know Chris and I have talked about over the years, I particularly like the first 3 or 4 days after a full moon during the rut. And I feel like consistently I have seen late morning movement during that time frame.
Into midday.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
And in the mid.
Yeah, the 2021 buck, I planned on sitting late. It was after a full moon. I want to say a couple days after full moon. I was like, well, I usually see late movement, so I'm going to sit here until at least noon. And sure enough, that buck came in at 11:30. That was the first time he had been in there in daylight, and I shot him.
There's a website you can go to. I don't know what it is. I done a show a couple years ago. I walked around in my house here. I think I got, 35 heads in here, or just on plaques and stuff. And I thought, I killed it in the morning, evening. I asked a question. Go around in your heads you've killed over the years. You kill more in the morning, more in the evening, or midday. And just think about it. I think a lot of it goes back to what was that moon phase. The day you killed that 2021 buck. Go back. You know what time of day you killed it. You know the day of the year you killed it.
Mm-hmm.
Go back and look and see what the moon phase was when you killed it. I guarantee it was a minor or a major.
Yeah.
A lot of times on a full moon, you get a full moon and the next morning you wake up, most time it's right over center. A lot of times. So you done missed that major because major is right before daylight. Well, 4, 5, 6 hours later, you got a minor when that moon's setting. You get up in the morning, you see it in the sky about 2 o'clock. When a few hours when it sets, most time that's mid-morning, that's perfect. That's that minor time. I read something a couple years ago when I was trying to do some research, find some websites on the moon phase and stuff. And I read an article and it made so much sense. I never thought about it. And I think it's sort of what time of that year that full moon falls of year, say November 7th is peak time. It basically said full moon was seeking stage. Quarter moon after full moon was chasing stage. Full new moon was lockdown. I got thinking, dang, I never thought about it that way. But you always hear lockdown. You always hear, a little bit of reek of the rut. I don't think that's true every year, but I do think when that full moon falls right at that peak of the 7th through the 14th that y'all say is up there, to say if that full moon is, say, that 5th or 6th that year, you're going to see a lot of good activity on the backside of that full moon.
And to be clear, the peak, according to the biologist, the peak of the rut is right around mid-November here. I think they were stating what they like to hunt, which for me, the first It's really tough to say a favorite because the last few days of October here are fire. If you have intel. If you don't have intel, then you're probably not going to get super lucky. But
I think a deer is like a human. Just think, they waited all year for these does to come.
Right.
And you get, your 2 and 3 year old, and y'all got more age structure than we do. You're getting on them, your 4 year old. Man, that first cold front, they've done head pecking order. They know who the boss is around there. But they're trying their darndest to find that first hot doe.
Sure.
And I had a guy come in on the show a couple of years ago from Northeast Iowa, and he basically said, them mature bucks know them older dominant does are going to come in first. And they're going to be, if you know where they are, hunt them. And I thought that makes sense too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I wish I knew all of that. That's kind of tough to keep tabs on, but we need to start tagging does and like make them fight each other. Which one of you is tough? I need to know. But no, I agree. It's funny to watch them too, because it's almost like the bigger deer towards the end of October. They just can't take it anymore, and they get on their feet. And you see them during the dumbest time. And Josh and I, we've hunted private enough, had enough corn piles out and stuff. You'd have just the stupidest, midday encounter on camera with your number one, 140, 150, 160 inch deer. It's 2 p.m. and it's 80 degrees. And then go and look at the moon face.
That's right. You go look at the moon
like
face.
The day after the full moon, or the day of the full moon, or, a couple days after, which when I'm muzz hunting, I got a morning sit this weekend, and we're just a couple days after the full moon, and I'm beyond excited.
But pay a lot of attention to position though. That rising, straight overhead, setting, straight underfoot.
Yeah.
And 4 times is where you pay attention, especially when it falls to that 7 to 9 in the morning, or if it's getting dark at 5:30, if it falls from like at 3:30 to 5:30, or that 4 to 6, when it falls them times, especially in the evening, I think like that guy was talking about on new moon, he knew that moon phase was finna fall right in the evening on the feed pattern, so he knew to hunt feed in that evening, early season, because they're going to be up. They're going to daylight them days like that.